Hi, I'm Michelle Segrest, and welcome to the Factory of the Future podcast.
This podcast is inspired by my 3-volume book series on the evolution of modern manufacturing. Each episode features engaging conversations with game-changing experts discussing the processes and innovations that are changing the landscape of modern manufacturing. Thank you so much for listening. Please do me a favor and leave me a 5-star rating on iTunes and take just a couple of seconds to leave a review. And then go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss a single episode. I am really excited to have 2 really cool guests today to discuss a truly innovative company that is doing fantastic things for small to medium-sized manufacturers. Through our conversation today, we will learn how the nation's leading independent innovation center for hardtech and manufacturing innovation supports small to medium manufacturers by leveraging its relationship with entrepreneurs. mHUB's co-founder and VP of Innovation Services, Bill Fienup, and Chief Experience Officer, Melissa Lederer, are going to describe for us mHUB's 65,000 square foot facility that supports early stage hard tech development and tell us how the organization has built an ecosystem around manufacturing innovation to support small to medium manufacturers through contract R&D projects. This is going to be a really fascinating conversation, but first I want to just tell you a little bit about our guests. First is Bill Fienup. He's the Vice President of Innovation Services and co-founder, and he is an entrepreneur who is focused on delivering new product innovation to mHUB clients seeking better solutions. With experience ranging from fusion energy research at Los Alamos National Laboratory to designing toys for Hasbro, Bill began his career as a product development consultant for IDEO and Insight Product Development. After 7 years of innovation consulting, he became an entrepreneur and launched several product-based businesses. After experiencing several challenges launching hardware startups, Bill founded Catalyze Chicago to provide entrepreneurs with the tools, resources, mentorship, and manufacturing networks that were needed to successfully develop products and launch new business. He holds 12 patents. This is really fascinating to me, and he has many more pending. His reputation as a thought leader extends beyond Chicago. He was named to Crain's Chicago Business 40 Under 40 in 2018, and he was featured in New City's Design 50 Who Shaped Chicago 2019. In addition to being a repeat visitor to the White House for topics ranging from international trade to the maker movement, Bill has appeared on national television with his inventions. He has both a master's and a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from MIT. So that's pretty impressive. But stand back because Melissa is pretty impressive too. So Melissa Lederer is the Chief Experience Officer at mHUB. I can't wait to find out what that means. She is focused on leading teams to design solutions that drive engagement, collaboration, and success for mHUB corporate partners and startups. A seasoned business professional with more than 20 years of broad experience in both corporate and agency settings, Melissa has served a variety of technology-based businesses of all sizes and has a special passion for supporting high-growth startups on brand formation and scaling into new markets. For the past 10 years, Melissa has been an active force in helping to build Chicago's robust entrepreneurial community. She was a member of the founding team of 1871, which is Chicago's innovation hub, recognized by UBI Global as the #1 university-affiliated incubator in the world, and has served as its chief marketing officer for more than 2 years. She also helped found Chicago's healthcare incubator and innovation center, Matter, where she was responsible for defining and building the Matter brand and managing all areas of the company's marketing, communications, and events. She continues to support Matter's strategic initiatives and special projects. Now, prior to her years focused on driving civic entrepreneurship, Melissa served as the Senior Vice President of Marketing for Q Interactive, where she oversaw all the marketing, communications, and creative functions and served on the company's senior leadership team. She was recognized in 2019 and 2020 in the Crain's Chicago Business Notable Women in Manufacturing. She's a graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and she lives with her husband and 2 children in Glencoe, Illinois. Now, this is a really important topic, and I cannot wait to find out more about mHUB. So let's get to it. Melissa and Bill, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having us on your podcast.
It's so great to have you here, and I am really looking forward to hearing more. So let's start from the beginning. Tell us, what is mHUB?
Bill, you want to take that first?
mHUB is a manufacturing innovation hub, really founded on the principle to lower the barriers of entry to physical product development, both for entrepreneurs and small to medium-sized manufacturers. It really came about from struggles that the entrepreneurs in Chicago had in building a physical product, and really an opportunity to pull together entrepreneurs and businesses together to solve R&D challenges, manufacturing new products, and building more efficient systems to increase productivity and create new jobs. And I really, had this experience after having so many good resources at MIT and IDEO and Insight Product Development. I found it was really challenging to be alone in my apartment building a physical product. I didn't have the right resources. I didn't have the right tools, lacked some knowledge in launching a new business or marketing a product. Really needed mentorship and access to manufacturers and access to other skill sets that I didn't have. And I looked around the whole ecosystem in Chicago, and there were some, great resources and communities that focus in software. And I was really inspired by that, and thought, we need something for the manufacturing community, for those building physical products, because the needs are so much greater. The resources are so much more intense. The capital requirements are much larger. And the tools necessary to develop a physical product, you need a lot of those tools like 3D printers, CNC equipment, laser cutters to develop and iterate. Whereas in software, you need a laptop and an internet connection and maybe some coffee.
Right.
But in the physical nature, you need much more resources. And that's what we set out here to build at mHUB.
I'm sure you see all the time that, people have great ideas. People always say, oh, wouldn't this be a great product? But they give up on it because they have zero idea on how to make it a reality. And they don't think they have the tools and the resources, and certainly not the capital to make it happen. We all know what an incubator is, but this is where you can share resources and come together as entrepreneurs to help each other make this happen? Or is it more of an independent?
No, it's a very collaborative community with lots of mentors, lots of members. We've got about 1,200 members within our community here at mHUB, and it's so collaborative. Everybody is picking each other's brains. We're all helping out. They're helping develop solutions together. It's an open innovation environment, and I think that's really the secret. That's where we're very powerful, is putting together everyone's minds to solve a problem. And I always tell people that, someone under this roof has experienced that challenge or has that solution. And it's just about connecting each other to navigate that engineering problem or that challenge and building the solution.
So, Melissa, before I pull you in, I want you to explain to me your job title. You're the Chief Experience Officer.
Yes,
for mHUB. So explain to me what that is.
It's a great title, isn't it?
It is a fantastic title.
Thank you. And I get that question, what does it mean, all the time? The way that we think about it, or the way that I think about it, is the experience of the various audience that we serve, right? We are a community. We're a nonprofit organization. This ecosystem that we're pulling together that are really collaboratively working on new product ideas, traveling this journey of entrepreneurship together. But we have lots of different audiences. We have the startups and the innovators. We have large corporate partners. We have small and medium-sized manufacturers. We have the universities and academia, research centers, and enthusiasts, right? And my job is to really think about each of those audiences and how to build value for them, how to build inclusiveness, and how to make them feel like there's an opportunity for them to be a part of this community and collaborate so that everyone wins.
you know all of the members probably. And so when they come to you with a specific problem, like, hey, I need help with XYZ, you probably know who else in the community to go to
Yeah, I mean that's
to
exactly what
help
we're
them.
all doing, right?
Oh,
Bill is
okay.
Bill
Okay.
is
Yeah.
very good at that too. But that's we're sort of I always joke that we're kind of like Sherpas, you know.
Yeah.
We are absolutely connecting the dots for our community to help them find the resources that they need at whatever stage they're at or whatever barrier they've hit. One of the things you talked about when you asked the question initially for Bill was, there's lots of people who have great ideas, but they don't know what to do with it, right?
Right.
When we
Right.
create this mechanism, this community of inclusiveness that allows them to find their way much faster. Maybe they're going to fail fast. That's good to know, right? Maybe they're going to succeed that much faster. But they travel that journey together, and then we surround them with all these resources, whether it be classes and technical training or mentors from industry that have a variety of domain expertise, or whether it be corporates for pilots or feedback, whether it be another entrepreneur who has a particular type of expertise in an engineering capacity that they don't. And that's our job, is to really help make that available, but also help point them in the right direction, and also give them sort of that, I guess, tough love at times too, to sort of
Sure.
send them back on the path in the right direction.
Well, that's the tough love is probably where the best lessons are learned, I'm sure.
That's right.
Now, are all of the members of mHUB, or of the mHUB community, I guess is how you would describe it, are they all building products, or is it also ideas and other types of entrepreneurs, or is it all, like I'm kind of picturing the stories you hear about where, I built this product in my mother's garage, and then somehow managed to mass produce it. Is it like a whole community of those types of entrepreneurs, or is it other stuff too?
Yeah, I would say the common thread is everyone's working on something physical.
Okay.
If it makes a sound when it hits the ground, that's what we're doing here.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
I've never put it that way, but I'm going to use that.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you're helping people build physical products.
Yes. But, nowadays products they're intelligent, they're smart, so
That's right.
there's firmware and there's software behind data, and there's analytics, and that's the value that they're getting out. But there's usually some sensor or some physical aspect that's creating that data. I think that's the common thread. And the majority of a community, they're building their own company, or they're part of a startup. But there's also a portion of contractors that are helping create value for the whole ecosystem here. And their role is helping either startups or small to medium-sized manufacturers build their product and do R&D and do engineering for them. So they're part of a team and an extension of really our community. And some of them don't have their own product that they're taking to market, but they're really helping others achieve their goals.
Right. Now, you guys are in, I mentioned it in the intro. I want to go back and get my number correct. 65,000 square foot facility in Chicago. And are all the entrepreneurs and the members of the community of the ecosystem, are they all physically in that building?
No. So the community is essentially a co-working space where there are people who have either like a pass where they can get in and find a comfortable spot, or some have a dedicated desk or a dedicated office. But what you're finding is that they come and go based on what they need, right? And depending upon where they are sort of in their path, their commercialization path. So some might be there all the time and their office is there and they're there 5 days a week. And then there are others that are just coming in to use the labs, and maybe they're working on something, but they have an office elsewhere. Or some might be on the road, or they're doing a pilot. So it's a real fluid environment.
That's so
but
cool.
a nice amount of activity on a regular basis, which is great.
Is it kind of a cheerleading atmosphere? I'm trying to get the vibe. I'm trying to understand what the vibe is there. Are people cheering people on and excited when somebody creates their product from nothing? Are there celebrations and kind of community around that?
I think you're right. To get the feel for it, and we'll have you over sometime. It would be great.
Oh, yes.
But it is absolutely a collaborative environment where I think that there's a lot of sharing, a lot of high fives and fist bumps. There's, for my team, we had one today, a member lunch, where at the start of the lunch, we acknowledge big wins, or we ask people, what do they want to share? And so we give the opportunity for that community to share with one another and celebrate wins, and also acknowledge it, failures and learn from those as well.
Absolutely. So how do people find you? How do they just walk in off the street and say, "Hey, I want to build this widget. I have this great idea and Shark Tank turned me down. So how can you help me?" Are they just walking in off the street and coming in to get some help?
Yeah, I think people find us through a variety of channels. Certainly we work with universities and we get a lot of students or recent graduates or even professors that are looking to commercialize research, and they're aware of mHUB. A lot of it is, through word of mouth, or, some startup had a great experience here and recommends us to their friends. We also have a lot of events at mHUB, and some of them are virtual now, but people come because they're a part of, a meetup group, or they have a particular interest in a certain topic, and they experience, our space through that event. So I think there are a number of channels that people hear about us or people discover us.
Prior to COVID, we did probably 3 to 5 events a week, whether they were our own events or a community relationship we had that was related to the manufacturing sector. But there was a lot of flow of folks coming in through our doors, whether it was, for a particular event or a keynote speaker for inspiration. That was a big way that we were driving a lot of new visibility. We also have really taken a keen focus on expanding our net throughout the Chicago region and really expanding diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we have a number of community partnerships throughout the area that also help drive awareness of what we have to offer and create those connection points as well. So that's actually a great driver for us too.
When did mHUB open and why? Like, what was the inspiration for creating this innovation center for manufacturing innovation, and why is it based in Chicago, other than the fact that Chicago's just awesome?
I'm going to let you take that, Bill, since you were at the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago is kind of the home for a lot of manufacturers. People are building physical things in Chicago. So there's a lot of industries here, and it's a very diverse segment of industries. And I think
Of course.
we've been around for almost 5 years now. And I think it really came down to the need of building a community and an ecosystem of individuals that all had similar struggles of trying to develop a product and launch a business and really support and bolster the manufacturing ecosystem here in Chicago. And I think a lot of what we were trying to do was not only help startups, but help these small to medium-sized manufacturers. And I think really that combination is the secret sauce of mHUB, where you have entrepreneurs in the same room as, experienced manufacturers.
The existing small and medium-sized manufacturers, do most of them have their own facility? They just come in for other resources, or how do they fit into the picture?
Sure. Yeah, a lot of them do have a facility, but I think where we're powerful is, the entrepreneurs here are very quick thinkers. They do fast experiments. They innovate very rapidly, and they don't quite have the barriers that larger corporations have. The entrepreneurs take a lot of risk. They fail early and fast, and they pivot and they experiment, and they get up again and they keep working until they arrive at a solution that typically is more innovative. Whereas, on the more corporate side, I think they're slow and steady. They have a lot of industry experience, but they're kind of thinking within the realms of that box, and they don't explore new technologies or alternative solutions that can provide the same need, quicker and less expensive. And I think they also don't take enough risk in developing new solutions. And part of that is just part of their culture, and they have to meet certain metrics. If they fail on a project, then they might lose their job. Whereas an entrepreneur can move quickly and fast and is not afraid to fail. And I think when you pull those two communities together, one who understands their customer, has the voice of the customer down, understands the markets and the needs, and you pair that up with someone who can move fast and create and innovate, then you get, a real solution that has impact and a solution that there's a market for. That's what makes it really powerful.
This was really a passion project in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a collaboration between World Business Chicago and myself at Catalyze Chicago. We were both I was coming more from the entrepreneurial side,
Mm-hmm.
and World Business Chicago was coming from that manufacturing side. We sort of married those two communities together and created this success.
Right. Now, Bill, you're an inventor, and we talked about that a little bit in the intro. So there were probably resources that you needed when you were trying to create your products that you invented. So what are some that probably inspired you? That had to.
Yeah. So it really came to me when I was that week when I quit my job and became an entrepreneur. I really found myself alone in my apartment trying to build a product and bring it to market. And there were so many struggles. What I really missed early on was having access to prototyping equipment and tools. So, at mHUB, we've got, 10 different shops and labs. We've got a 3D printing lab, a laser cutting lab, all with different, machines and tools that can help you rapidly prototype and build and invent and iterate and create new products. And at first I was like, well, I really need access to a CNC machine or, a wood shop where I can create something. That was a driving force to have a space where that prototyping work can be done. You don't want to be doing it, in your kitchen or in your apartment. But what I found was the most valuable asset was the community that came. It was, bouncing ideas off of other people or having different skill sets in the same room. I'm a mechanical engineer, but it takes more than just an ME to build a product. You need an electrical engineer, an industrial designer, you need material experts. And then once you have that product, you also need someone to market it. And you need someone with business acumen to build a financial model and a strategy to, sustain the business. So you need all these other skill sets. And that's, I think, what, people come to mHUB for the equipment, but they stay here because of the community.
That's probably where Melissa's skill set really comes in handy with all her marketing and communications. You probably help a lot of people in that way because you can have the greatest invention in the world, but if nobody knows about it, it's just going to sit there.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and you tend to find that a technical founder doesn't always have the softer skills of marketing or sales, and that's where we really can help bolster some of that up through workshops or mentorship. And I certainly do a lot of mentorship with the startups to help them think about what is that go-to-market strategy? Where do they even start? What's the right timing? What should that brand essence be from the very beginning? There's all these little things that you have to think about that impact everything about how you actually go into market with that product. And a lot of times they just don't have that. So it's definitely an area that we find they need support for. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, from beginning to end, from the idea, the concept to the production, the design, and then the production, and then getting it to market.
Right.
There's so many elements. And you're right. Really, there's probably not any one person who can do all those things.
That's really what I think, again, makes the idea of the community so interesting. For me, I feel like if I'm supporting a team and trying to give them direction, a resource that they need is really a degree of separation away from mHUB. And we have such a wide ecosystem and fortunately have developed a really strong reputation in the market now that we can create those connection points. We can open doors that wouldn't typically be open to these entrepreneurs. We can connect the dots, and that really helps accelerate that path for them. That's what's always so fun for me.
Oh, I bet. That sounds super fun. Now, Bill, if you were there in the beginning to get a little bit of the history. So when you first started with mHUB, how many people or companies or members were there and how many are there now 5 years later?
Yeah, I mean, it really started organically. And, we leveraged a Google group called Maker Biz, that a group of makers that also had ambitions to start or had a business or to start a business, right? We really needed a physical home for this community. And we launched Catalyze Chicago in downtown Chicago. And it really started at 2,000 square feet, but it scaled rapidly. So we had about 30 people join on day one. We actually doubled the space 3 months later and then doubled the space again after another 3 months. And
That's fast.
It was very fast. And that's at about that point, that's where I met Haven Allen from World Business Chicago, who's the other co-founder of mHUB.
Okay, good.
And we worked then together to build out the larger vision. So it took us about 2 years to really pull in additional corporate partners and manufacturers into this community to create a larger value proposition for these entrepreneurs and for the manufacturing community. And so we set out together to build what the vision is now and moved into this space in 2014.
I'm really interested to know about how you work specifically with these small to medium-sized manufacturers and what those relationships look like. Are they coming to you to help them with certain things, or are your individual entrepreneurs needing some of their resources, or is it both?
Yeah, I would say it's a bit of both. I mean, our community here works with a lot of contract manufacturers to partner up to actually build the product at scale and at volume. But we also find a lot of small to medium-sized manufacturers that are building their own products. They come to mHUB for help in R&D and innovation. We have a good history of helping many companies. Really, a lot of it's introducing them into this innovation process and this product development process. A lot of times we kick things off with a brainstorm, and we have such a diverse community here at mHUB, and we sort all their skill sets. So we have a database of skill sets that we can pick and choose and build a diverse team in to pull them into an innovation session or a brainstorm to help solve a specific need or a challenge that a manufacturer may bring to us. And it could be, maybe they have a technology and they're looking to build a product from that technology, or they may have a challenge with a particular product in the field that they need solved. And they can come to us and we can tap in the best and the brightest of our community that are very specific in those skill sets and pull them in and have a collaborative working session. And from there, we typically generate many concepts, and then we do a sprint that could be a couple of weeks to build a proof of concept. So we take a concept that was jotted down on paper. They usually go through an evaluation process. We find out which ones are worth exploring and investing more time into. And then we gather materials and build a proof of concept. And at each part of the refinement stage, you're reducing risk. And then you know enough to either bet more on that path or say, hey, we're going down the wrong directions. Let's focus on these 3 ideas instead. So through that very iterative process, we innovate very quickly and help manufacturers at any stage of their development.
How often does it happen that somebody comes in and needs a resource that you don't yet have? And then it probably happened a lot in the beginning, but now, and then maybe you have to go and hunt for that resource. Does that make sense? Like maybe you don't have someone in the community that has that skill set, so you have to go out and find that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say now it's amazing that we have a really extensive reach, and we have kind of tentacles in every discipline. It's very rare that we don't find a match. Sometimes we leverage other communities. Someone comes to us with more of a pure software problem. We can leverage, collaborative incubators that we work with. But typically we find someone, sometimes the match is unbelievable that you're like, oh, they've worked, in a different industry, but they were solving a very similar problem.
Right.
And they have experience in the same software. I'm usually astounded by how well the backgrounds of the people we're matching up with to work on projects fit. And I think it's just because we have such a broad community of different disciplines and such a large community that we can tap into.
Can you guys tell us a specific example maybe of someone that came to you and said, hey, I've had this problem to solve, and how you helped them solve it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's only a couple of projects that we can share because a lot of them
of course,
are confidential.
And you don't have to say names, just kind of like the scenario or...
Yeah. So, a client came to us and what they do is they deliver food to schools around the Chicago area. Mm-hmm. And they needed a device that would keep their food, some of it hot and some of it cold.
Okay.
Because they would cook all their food in a large kitchen and then package it up in individual packages and then deliver it to dozens of schools in Chicago. And they came to us with a challenge of building a smart cooler that would heat and cool the food and also keep track of the location and confirm delivery.
Wow, cool.
and monitor the temperature. And so this is a type of a project that requires multiple different skill sets. So we have an industrial designer that sketches up a concept and works out the user interaction. Part of the problem is these coolers are they're very heavy because they're storing about 20 to 30 pounds of food. They're very, very big and hard to move around. So where are the handles going to be, the interaction points? We want a display to show the temperature of each of the items, and a GPS unit so we can track where the unit is upon delivery. And then it's also battery powered, so there's heating and cooling elements. And we have an engineer who has a thermodynamics background who can really make sure that there's enough insulation and there's enough heat transfer or heat removal from the food if you're trying to cool it. And then we also have an electrical engineer who's building out a custom board. So there's all these different challenges that go into this one product. What the client wants is just a seamless, integrated experience for their customers that are using this, or the delivery team that is delivering the food. So the cooler integrates with their back end and all their software, so they can see which items are where and what temperatures. And then when it arrives at the school, it starts heating. They can control kind of a temperature profile for the food so that it's ready to be served right at noon for lunch.
Wow. That's crazy. And, there's just something about the entrepreneurial spirit, or, there's something about people who are just, they're just innovative. They have these creative ideas, and then it's just a matter of bringing that idea to light, right? There's something about the entrepreneurial community that's just equipped to handle problems and challenges and come up with an idea. Do you see that a lot?
We say that we can have someone come in with an idea, really, and not know what to do with that idea, but they have a product idea, and go from idea to prototype to getting it into a customer's hand in like a small run production at mHUB. So we can help them all the way through that path, right? I have an idea. How do we validate the idea? How do we understand who the customer is? What's the product market fit?
Right.
Really, and then start working on the actual product development, refine and iterate on that prototype, continue to go through that, get it into a customer's hand, refine, do small run production on site at mHUB, get it back to the customer's hands, and continually, evolve as they move forward. And they don't have to leave mHUB to do that, which is really unique, right? They don't have to go looking to build a prototype and wait weeks to get it back. It can happen there. So someone can come in with an idea that they don't really know, where do I get started? And we can design that roadmap for them, and then handhold with and provide them the resources along that way.
That is fascinating. It's almost like you have these little babies. I'm sure you're so proud of all your kids,
Yes.
all these products or ideas that started as just an idea or a concept. And then it's probably like birthing a baby. And, when you see it actually happen, what's that like?
That's exactly right. I mean, Bill, I'm sure you feel the exact same way. And I've been doing this for a long time. Prior to even mHUB, have been part of an entrepreneurial community for a long time. And as exactly how I would define it, is they're like my babies. And I get so proud as they grow up.
And then you see them grow up and graduate. And the next thing you know, they're on the store's shelves, and you're seeing TV commercials. And I'm sure it's just so rewarding.
It is, and I think it goes back to what you said: is does the community celebrate one another? And we feel that way, and it's a part of what makes this thing work. Also, is that sort of inclusive, supportive community, which, by the way, I think is a Midwestern type of thing. I know that communities happen elsewhere, but I really think that there's something to it about the Midwest.
But you're also in this heartland of manufacturing too.
Absolutely,
there's so much industry in the Midwest. And so you have access to all this talent and all this innovation and all these resources too, that I'm sure you take advantage of. You're right there in the middle of it.
Yeah. And a big thing that we then, beyond what we can do within our four walls, is when they get, okay, we're going to actually go out and start building at scale, we are establishing a much stronger connection with the regional manufacturing ecosystem. And that becomes a sort of symbiotic relationship, right? That's new customers for them.
Right.
And we're establishing that connection point so that we can help them build supply chain for these startups as well.
What else does mHUB do? I know you have a little bit of a broader community as well. You've talked about the work you're doing with the entrepreneurs and with the small to medium-sized manufacturers. What else is going on there?
Yeah, so a big thing over the last few years has been kind of taking what we have been doing successfully and building upon the resources to support early stage hard tech entrepreneurs and saying, okay, what do we need to do to really ensure that those high potential teams can be successful, that they can commercialize? We know that it's, as Bill said in the beginning, it's expensive, right? It takes a
Sure.
lot of capital to build a physical product business. So we're trying to reduce the barriers of entry to the resources that they need and the equipment that they need, but also to the capital that they need. And so this past year, we raised a fund, an early seed fund that will probably close by the end of the year, but a $15 million seed fund that invests in high growth teams. And to couple that with an accelerator program that we also launched this past year, and we go across the country looking for teams that we can incubate for 6 months hands-on in Chicago at mHUB, give them that initial capital, surround them with corporate partners who can be either their first pilot or investor, give them that, that industry feedback, and then obviously all the rest of our resources. So that's a big thing that we're focused on right now. Our first cohort of the accelerator was focused on advanced manufacturing or industrial IoT technologies. They're already in their 5th month of the 6th, and we are about to announce our second cohort, which is focused on medical devices, really interesting technologies from around the country. And then we will do energy and climate tech as our third. There are 3 areas that we think there's real room for disruption, and
Uh-huh.
we're keenly focused on those to really incubate these
Is
high
there
growth
anything
teams.
that's off limits? Like if somebody walks into mHUB with an idea that's just not in your wheelhouse, does that ever happen? Or do you
Um,
consider everything a possibility?
we have a very open mind. Sometimes when an entrepreneur walks in, sometimes they're too early to begin the process. So, a lot of times we just start out with some mentorship and have them talk to their customer to vet the idea and make sure that they're solving a true need and that they have a feasible solution. And then they usually engage with us and we help develop that solution. But it's very important for them to get that voice of customer first. And sometimes people come in too early and we help them, we engage and help them through that process. I would say, what we're good at is manufactured products, so physical products.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to leverage, our expertise here for that.
So if you think that somebody comes in with an idea and you think you just can't help them, you tell them that, right?
Oh yeah. I
Like,
mean,
do you send
yeah,
them away and say, this is not for you?
I have before. I feel like if the cost of their membership is going to be more than the value that we provide, then
Right.
I let them know because we're set up as a nonprofit and we're trying to be a valuable asset to them.
Right. Right.
But there are very few times where I don't think the cost of our membership is valuable. So, in most cases, we're not turning people down because we can provide value like, 100x the cost of our membership fee. So it's very rare that we turn someone away.
How does a community or a service like mHUB, how does it impact the future of manufacturing?
I think it comes down to, a lot of the startups here are creating innovation for advanced manufacturing. And Melissa was telling you about our first cohort where that was the specific focus. And we have companies that are building sensors that are collecting data. They're creating protocols for machine-to-machine communication that is encrypted and efficient and a safe way that data can be transferred. So I think there's real impact with the solutions that our companies are creating here. And we have the partners that can help, push that through. Those industry partners help get it to market and help pilot, those solutions and perfect them. That's the real strength is the innovations that each startup here is creating is really having a big impact on industry and on manufacturing.
Well, you have to think that if some of these really creative minds who come walk in your door with these great ideas, if they didn't have those resources, those would be really significant ideas and contributions to industry that would just be left on the table and never realized. And so you have to think that not all the great minds are working for big companies, right? Some are just sitting in their garage trying to create some sort of widget. So that's kind of what I see is we would be missing out on so much creativity and innovation if there were not resources for these people that have these great ideas.
I think that there is so much room for disruption. And I'm all about this term collaborative innovation. And I feel like it sort of embodies what we do. And I think to move the industry forward, to infuse innovation, new ideas into the sector, it's going to take this collaboration between the manufacturing sector and innovators at the early stage that are coming out of universities, coming out of research centers, working together to solve problems. And I think that COVID, if it showed us a positive, was one way to show us that to solve a big behemoth of a challenge like COVID, we needed to work together. We needed to work collaboratively to innovate quickly. And I think that that's really coming out of that, how the industry is thinking much more. And I believe that's really what the sector needs to move forward. And I think that's why you're going to see a lot of sort of accelerated growth into this fourth industrial revolution.
From your perspective, we'll start with you, Bill. What does the factory of the future look like to you?
Yeah, so I see product development cycles are getting shorter and shorter because new technology enables faster development. I think customers are expecting new products every year. The iPhone comes out every year, and you have new features and new upgrades. So I see shorter development cycles that lead to smaller manufacturing runs. Mm-hmm. I see more customization. Each product is really tailored to a smaller customer's need. I'm seeing automation play a huge role, but I think it has to be flexible automation and not that fixed automation where you invest a lot of capital equipment into something that churns it out. But it needs to be flexible where you can use that robot for another purpose afterwards, because those development cycles are shorter and the manufacturing runs are smaller. And that automation can then be used to make the next product. Also thinking about like data playing a larger role in the manufacturing and the supply chain ecosystem, and predicting demand for materials and using algorithms to manufacture intelligently. I think you're going to see a lot of that, and the sensors that go into those factories to get those data and those analytics, those are scaling up as well. So the future of manufacturing is going to be very data and number driven.
I agree completely. What do you think, Melissa? What do you see in your crystal ball? What does the future of manufacturing look like?
Yeah, I think Bill is right on, and these are obviously sort of the core premise, I guess, the premises, if you will, in terms of what we're focused on and what we're hearing from the industry. I think the additional thing that to me is going to be a factor is sustainability, and really thinking about circular manufacturing. And really that's going to require a transformation across the continuum, right? From design, production to sourcing materials, servicing of those products, and really thinking like, what is the life cycle of that product and how do we think about reusing those materials and those products? So to me, that's already becoming an enormous discussion point, and certainly something that is going to be a huge factor going forward.
I agree with that as well, completely. So you guys, this has been so fun. I could sit in here and talk to you all day long because I'm fascinated about what you're doing, but I want to give you a chance to have the last word and tell us any information that I wasn't smart enough to ask you about. Anything you want the audience to know about mHUB and about what you're doing for industry. Bill, you can start.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for any of the listeners to give us a call and get involved in our community and what we're doing. And if there are any challenges or product development, R&D related skill sets that you need, we can be an extension of your product development team. And we've seen a lot of success from, hundreds of clients that we've had in the past. We've helped them innovate and bring products to market faster than they thought were possible. The community loves hearing new, interesting challenges, and we would love to open a conversation.
Yeah, we're going to put all of your social media handles in the show notes and your website and other contact information so people can reach out to you. Just real quick before I let Melissa give the very last word, is your community only for people in Chicago or in the greater Chicago area?
No, it's all over the world, actually. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, good. Okay. All right, Melissa, we'll let you say the very last word.
Awesome. Well, thank you, first of all, for having us on today and letting us talk about mHUB.
Of course, it's
and
my
what we're
pleasure.
doing. There's a lot of enthusiasm in what we're doing and passion. And so it's really fun to spread the word and to Bill's point, get others involved in our ecosystem. We try to be really inclusive and feel like there's a lot of mutual value that can be reaped out of this. So certainly I extend an invitation to anyone who's listening to check us out and go on our website. While we have not been doing a lot of in-person events, we have a lot of virtual things, virtual workshops. Over COVID, we made all of our classes free to the broader community. So you can find out about those on the website and attend, get a flavor for what we offer and pay attention to hopefully the events that'll be in person, that'll be coming sooner than later. But, there's a lot of opportunity. The landscape for disruption in hard tech and physical products and manufacturing is just so exciting right now. And so if you have an idea, we'd love to help you solve it.
Bill and Melissa, thanks so much for being here. It's been great.
Such a pleasure. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
This brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening. Please do me a favor and subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on iTunes. If you have interesting information to share and want to contact me about being a guest on a future episode of this podcast, please send me an email at michelle@navigatecontent.com. You can also send me questions that I will have my expert guests answer for you on a future episode. And in the meantime, please check out my book series on modern manufacturing to read more than 30 real-world case studies about how global companies are using smart technology and innovation to build the factory of the future. All the links to the books and articles mentioned in this podcast are in the show notes. Have a great week, and please join me for the next episode of Factory of the Future.